Morning, everyone. Hey, I'm doing this again from a hotel lobby. I'm still on vacation, as you can probably tell. It's certainly noisy, so I do apologize. And we have a group here who's leaving on a tour. They're going to be leaving soon, so while they do that, I need your comprehension. It's a little bit loud. So with that, I just wanted to thank you for joining every week and just being here. And I'm trying to get to Slido and see what your questions might be. And hang on, because I saw at least a few questions in there. All right, so here's a couple. One is, what are the best communication tools for stakeholders? And I would say that the best communication tools for stakeholders are mission-dependent answer, right? So depending on what the stakeholder wants, who the stakeholder is, and what the message might be, the tools would be different. The venues, the methods that used to communicate are going to be different. So it might be that it's a career-oriented communication that you want to set up with a stakeholder. Then the best possible method would be maybe a one-on-one meeting that you schedule proactively with them, and where you try to identify what their contributions are going to be to you, where you can be best assured to represent your content, your issues, the questions that you want to pose. If it's something where you might want to impress your capabilities on some other stakeholder, it could be a broader type of venue of interaction. It could be a meeting, it could be a review, it could be something where you're going to make evident that you have an opinion and you have things to add that will add value to that stakeholder. So the short answer to the question is it depends on the circumstances. There's no single right answer. And it's more about how prepared you feel, how concise you are, how clear you are in your explanations. I would think that's what really is going to make a difference for your stakeholder. Okay, guys, let me go to the next one. Again, sorry about the noise. It's tremendous here. Is it ever too late to create a personal brand? Answer is no, it's never too late. So realize that every day that you're in a working situation with people, that anybody else is going to be seeing you, you are creating a personal brand. It could be a good one, it could be a bad one. So it's never too late. Now, when I hear this question and as I address it, I'm going to assume that the question really refers to, can I build a good, positive, favorable brand? And is it ever too late? It's never too late. It's always a good time. So just remember what you stand for. What are the main elements of your brand? So what are the problems that you solve? What are the issues that you should be uniquely called in for? What do you stand for? What do you want people to think about when they hear your name and the things that you can do, or your mission? Those are the things you need to keep in mind, and then identify how are you going to be different executing on that, adding that value, having that dialogue, bringing that different perspective. Once you have a clear view of what your brand is or what your brand can be, then it's a lot easier for you to stick to it and for you to stay true to it. The problem I find is when people are not really sure what they stand for, what they represent, and then obviously there's no clear brand that they can uphold and protect. Okay, guys, just more people just came into the lobby. So let me do this. I'll block my camera here for a quick second. I'll walk to another place. Please bear with me. This is one of the challenges of doing live events, particularly when you're on vacation, but I just didn't want to not connect and not come to you like I promised. So please bear with me as I try to do something about the sound. It's going to be a quick sec. Okay, team, I'm sorry about the noise, and it's going to be noisy still, but hopefully not as bad as what we had before. So I do apologize for the background. Yeah, so the brand, and is it ever late to build a personal brand? The answer is no, it's never late. Build your personal brand by knowing exactly what you stand for, what people are looking for in you, what your unique value add is going to be to solve that problem or to answer to their need. The more you gain clarity with these answers, the easier it's going to be for you to stick to a personal, specific brand that differentiates you in a unique way. So what are you doing differently from others as you solve whatever problem it is that you're brought in to solve, or whatever project it is that you proactively offer to lead? That's how you build a brand at any time. It's never late. I think I said this in some other conversation of the ones that we have. It's not a choice. So you always have a brand, and you just might choose to do something with it or not, but you will always be adding or taking from your personal brand. So be sure to know what exactly you do, how to do it, what's the best way to do it. How do I confront my boss about poor communication? So this is a difficult topic. It's never easy to have a, I mean, for want of a better word, confrontational type conversation with your boss. It's a complicated interaction, right? So you need to make sure that you are sufficiently self-assured to go to your boss and demand in the best possible way that you have a conversation. At the same time, you don't want to be perceived as A, problematic, or B, a threat to your boss, right? So you need to make sure that whenever you do broach this topic, you do it in a very positive, constructive way. The best way to do that is to, sit down. I would recommend doing this one-on-one. The more private the setting, the better, because think about it. If you are going to go to your boss and say, hey, we need to communicate better, it could be an embarrassing episode for her or for him, right? It's something that you want to avoid. Public shaming, even if it's not shaming, I'm probably using a bad word for it, but you want to make sure that they don't feel vulnerable and exposed in a flaw. So try to set some one-on-one time, and then very politely express what that lack of communication is doing to your joint work together. So it's not about you, it's about them. What about that poor communication is affecting that project that you're working on? How does that impact adversely your team or the organization that you might be leading together? You might be helping this person to lead. You need to identify what the impact is, propose a solution. So if your current mode of communication is not enough, then what's a better way to do it? It could be a weekly call. It could be a daily email. It could be, you name it. There's just so many ways. But the crux of it is you need to make sure that it's a positive, constructive proposal that is not centered around your comfort, around your feeling like you're informed or not feeling inadequate because you don't know stuff. It could be true and it can be valid that you need more information than you currently have, but the best way to couch it is to just say it's about us. It's about better solving our problem. It's about better responding to our clients' needs. Hopefully that's helpful. So again, I think talking about a personal brand, I have a question here that says, so what skills oh no, what makes a personal statement weak? So I guess we already kind of discussed that, but a personal statement is weaker when there's no definition around it. So when it's unclear what it is you're adding, what your personal brand is, when it's not clear why you're different. So who are you? When it's just, when the answer that comes to the leader's mind is, you know, Eduardo, I know he works here, he works hard, I see him doing a lot of things, but I don't really know how he could be helping me. That's a problem, right? That's a weak personal brand that you need to, that needs to strengthen. So I would say that the weaker personal statements that I've seen are those that are extremely long. So you try to summarize and describe your brand and your unique proposition, your unique value proposition. You try to summarize that in like 70 sentences and 500 characters, and you run out of breath before you start saying what your brand is. That's a problem. That's super weak because it's very, very vague. It just shows that you don't even know what makes you strong. The other one is when you just don't have it. So when somebody asks you, what is your unique value proposition? What do you do? Or when you are suddenly in a golden situation in front of a stakeholder that you really want to impress, that might have a direct and material impact on your career, and you're vague and you're just rambling on and mumbling, then that's a waste of their time. And it's actually a waste of your time and a waste of your image. So those are things that make a personal statement weak. How should I address that? I love this question. How should I address the perpetual contradictor in my team? And in my experience, guys, I've been working more than 34 years, and I've had all kinds of teams in all places. So in Europe, in the Americas, global teams. There's always the same type of archetypes in organizations, the same type of colleagues who address problems the same kind of way. One of them is the eternal pessimist who always contradicts something. So the contradictor typically tends to be a person who is pessimistic, and it's a naysayer. So this person will very often be saying, I don't think this is going to work. We tried that before and it was a disaster. Or I don't think this is going to work in this organization. Or I don't think that you're ready. Or I don't think that we're ready, right? Because it's not necessarily that they're going to frame this as an attack on you. It could be just, hey, let's not do it. There's a number of drivers for that, right? One is they're actually making a positive contribution because they're highlighting risks that are good to address, that you might be overlooking, that they are extremely concerned about, and that you would be well advised to take into consideration. So that's one. The other type of person is the person who's eager for power. They want notoriety. They want to be seen, and they want to have a voice in whatever it is you say. And normally, the easiest voice to have is the voice that just says no to anything that's presented to them. So I go into this not to build a long preamble, but it's important when you have a contradictor in your team to understand what motivates them. Is it because they're seeing some legitimate risk that you should address, and then you should engage with them and say, tell me more about it? Or is it because it's a perennial attention-seeking behavior that you see when somebody just wants to have more voice than others, when somebody wants to depict their position as being more important than others, and they're trying to put everybody down, or they're just trying to say why things won't work? Remember, that's an easier thing. If it's the latter, if it's somebody who's just eager for a voice, then listen, you're not going to change them. There's no magic wand that's going to magically make them be the most productive versions of themselves. They are who they are. what you should be doing is thinking as a leader, how are you going to use them in the best way, right? So how do you leverage their abilities? Because it's an ability. You could ask these people to lead a devil's advocate effort for any discussion that you're in. And by the way, research has proven that when you have somebody who's specifically assigned to the role of being a naysayer, being the devil's advocate, group decisions tend to be substantially better. So this is a good use for their skills and for their propensity to see the negative in things. Is you make them be in charge of identifying the potential downfalls for your project or for whatever endeavor it is you're embarking on. That'll frame them in a more positive light. It'll give them skin in the game that they want to own, and they're going to want to make the effort successful rather than just to say it won't work. You will say, let me use your views to make it better. You can also engage them. Go to them and say, tell me a little bit about it. I also have misgivings myself, but I actually think it will work. However, I do respect your views, and you have a talent for identifying things that could go wrong. Help me see whatever I might be missing, and have them express things to you. And that'll give you an in for a conversation where you can also voice the things that they might be missing or choosing not to accept. But when you engage them, they're going to lower their defenses, and it's probably an easier interaction. If this doesn't work and the person continues to just be a naysayer, then the other alternative is to confront them, pull them aside, ideally on a one-on-one setting. I'm an advocate of preserving people's dignity and of making sure that every interaction is respectful. So don't necessarily call them out in public. It might be needed, and I might go into that in a sec, but try to always be respectful and sensitive to their dignity. So pull them aside, take them to your office, find a meeting room, go have a breakfast or a coffee, or just find a one-on-one setting and confront the person about their behavior. Say, hey, listen, I just want you to be aware that every time you interact with the team in that way, the whole team seems to feel stuck. What's going on? How can I help? Is there an issue? Is there something that we should be addressing together? Let's problem solve. So you offer them an olive branch, and you offer them an exit ramp, and you offer them an alternative that they can bring out whatever might be troubling them, if there's indeed something. If there's nothing, and if the person just continues to be just a continual naysayer, then you might want to be a little more stern and just let them know that this won't work. But that should be the last resource, where you're going to say to the person, this has to change because you're bringing everybody down. And we want to have the most positive atmosphere that we can get in this project. And, get with the program. That's the last resource, but it might be necessary. So hopefully that helped. Another question here is, how do I know how to prioritize? Feels easy, but then life happens and it's all a jumble. Yeah, I think we've all been in that situation, and we probably are in that situation every day, where we're ideally trying to accomplish a few things that are important, and there's just a lot going on around us that becomes a distraction. And you think you're going to go for A, B, and C, but suddenly there's a need for you to handle situation D, and then situation E, and situation F. So it's all over. You have a call from home. Something happens, like today, right? When I was starting the conversation with you, and then the lobby became unbearably, excuse me. Pardon me, guys. The room becomes noisy. There's always distractions. The most important thing is to define what are your key 3 things that you're going to accomplish in that given time period. So think about every year and identify in a very clear, unequivocal, unambiguous way, what are the 3 big things you're going to accomplish this year? Take that down a notch. How does that look from a quarter perspective? What are the more important things that you're going to accomplish this quarter? And how about this month? How about this week? How about today within the week? That's the important part of it, is identify what exactly you will accomplish in the next span of time that you define. It could be down to an hour. Then I would recommend that on the previous night to any day, right? On the night before, you identify what exactly you want to accomplish on the following day. No more than 3 things. So that when life happens, you have those 3 things. You probably sacrifice 2 because you wanted to do 5. You sacrifice 2, you solve whatever comes up, and you focus on those 3. But always know what those 3 are. Always know what the specific things you're going to be doing that next day to advance these 3 things are, so you can continue to be laser focused on them. That's the best way to avoid being jumbled with the noise of the daily signal of life. Stay focused on what exactly you want to achieve. Should be no more than 3 things per day, and you should know that going into the day. As you close your day, sit down, spend 5 minutes thinking about the next day, identify 3 things that you want to accomplish, and put those things in front of you using a Post-it note, sticky, put it on your computer, or scribble it on your wrist. Whatever you need to do, just make sure that you keep those 3 things top of mind, front and center. And that's the best way to keep on being focused. How can I get better at managing myself, and what should I be focusing on? Well, so this is a large question. It demands some time to answer, and I won't be able to address everything that's encompassed in this question in just less than 5 minutes that we have left here. So what I will say is that you always have to know, again, what your brand is, what you stand for, right? So that's the most important thing. Then, and thinking about yourself, looking inward. The other one is thinking about your team. So again, the question's about managing yourself. So how do you manage yourself? Another important aspect of managing yourself is, how are you communicating with your team? Are you giving them enough information? Do they know what they should be, what the big picture is of the work that they do, so that they also know what they should be executing on, and how that's going to advance the strategic aims of your organization? How good and active are you at giving feedback? Another, again, managing yourself and thinking about your team is, are you giving them sufficient feedback for good or for improvement, right? So is it positive feedback because they're doing a fantastic job? And by the way, this is the easiest feedback to procrastinate on, because he or she knows he or she is doing a fantastic job. I shouldn't need to tell them. Don't do that, right? So if you have feedback to offer and it's good, hey, it's a gift, so give it. If it's constructive feedback about things that can be done better, then all the more urgent, go and talk about that. Give them that feedback. Give them a chance to get better. That's what you need to make sure to do. How well do you adapt? Again, managing yourself, how well do you adapt to the changing needs of the environment, of your company, of your business, of your industry? So you need to make sure that you're not falling into the trap of, okay, I know what I want to do, and then you can shut the rest of the world down because now you have a vision. So don't do that. You need to make sure that you have that as a guiding light, but you need to also be perpetually scanning and aware of what's going on in your business, in your industry, in your community. And you need to adapt your work and the work of your team to those changing circumstances. If you are in accounts payable and all of a sudden there's some economic crisis where you know that there's going to be a cash crunch, then you need to know that you need to change your approach and you should be maximizing those payment terms. Or if you're in a situation where your team is intensively working on some projects and you need to have them pivot and do something that's different, that's more focused on putting out some fire, then you need to be very quick in understanding how you're going to communicate, how you're going to set those priorities, how you're going to stop it when you can't stop it and go back to the original work, right? So those are just a few elements. I want to use the last minute to plug a couple of things. Next August 21st at 6:45 a.m. Pacific, which is 9:45 a.m. Eastern, and 3:45 p.m. in the Central European time zone, I'm going to have a fantastic conversation with a guy I admire a lot, a person who I've come to appreciate and who I'm excited to share with you, whose name is Ton Gertz. Ton was a C-level executive in world-class organizations and Harvard alumni. He collaborates with consulting firms in a constant basis. And there's a ton to learn from Ton in terms of his career, his mistakes, his insights. So don't miss that. 6:45 a.m. Pacific, 9:45 a.m. Eastern, 3:45 p.m. Europe. And there's going to be a great conversation you're going to learn a lot from. And the other one is there's a new training coming up for an hour, August 23, 24, and 25, where I'm going to be expanding on things that we touch upon on these questions. Make sure that you join www.buildyourgrowthchallenge.com. Come to the meeting, come to the challenge, come to that training, and you're going to walk out with a blueprint and a plan for what are the most important things that you need to keep in mind to build your growth, to get access to the fast track, and to break through your next promotion. Guys, with that, we're at the bottom of the hour. I do apologize for all of the technical difficulties that I had today. I hope you understand it's just because even though I'm on vacation, I don't want to not come to you and have this conversation and offer my thoughts. So please keep engaged. Let me know in the comments below if I answered your questions, if there are more questions. Otherwise, you can go to slido.com and just put your question down there. And I will see you here next Tuesday, again at noon Eastern, for a quick 30-minute conversation. Enjoy. God bless. See you in a week. Bye now.